The whole idea of an advisor in this episode was really interesting because at first it was cool to see our boy Thorfinn have to kind of not be so grumpy and accept help from basically someone who's saying, hey, I know how to defeat this giant mammoth. Because, yeah, it makes sense for someone like Ashlad to say, I know how to defeat him. It's just, if you kill the commander, the army's still gonna kill you. So it's not like he was bluffing. I totally bought into that. I was like, that's really cool. That's really interesting. The whole idea of an advisor makes total sense. And then they start with the advising from Thorkell to Thorfinn and the whole what his father was and what it means to be a warrior. Like, okay, more advisor, that's always good. And then you get the big dick energy with Canute coming in and advising everyone. And it's like, this series and what the characters go through and how they are explored. Hell, wasn't expecting Ashlad to say, yeah, I killed Ragnar. You can kill me if you want. Or, because I see you're a real leader now, you can let me tag along. This series just throws so many curveballs, and whether you're watching characters get pummeled to death, nearly get pummeled and not even flinching, to then just the dialogue between them, it's so goddamn exhilarating. I really like seeing the flashback of when Thors basically escaped the battle, fled with his wife and child, and started anew because he realized what it meant to be a warrior, and that was he didn't need a sword. There was something more beautiful in life than just killing and things like that. There's a set of eyes that something like Thorkell never understood. And I thought it was quite interesting seeing how heartbroken he was because, you know, this was his friend, this was his family, this was something that actually shattered a man who laughs in the face of murder, but he was crying like a baby at the loss of someone he deeply cared for. So to see how he thought it was like robbers coming in to break into his best friend's home, and then he's like, oh man, you're still alive, that's great. It's Thorkell, right? He wants to party, he wants to wake up the leader. He wants everyone to feel so damn happy, but then the spiraling of just saying, hey, I'm leaving. I don't have a sword, I'm not a warrior anymore, I'm going somewhere far away. It was so interesting how we got such a badass moment despite very little action here. What he did, yes, he was able to stop an axe with just his arm. He was able to destroy Thorkell with a simple punch, but it was really the cold stare looking at someone who was so happy and watching him get progressively more and more confused to the point that he was absolutely filled with rage, wanting to take out the man he deeply cared for, because traitors, if you abandon the village, will get killed. And then to just see how, by the end of the episode, he realized that should he have went with Thors that day, he probably would have known what it is to be a warrior, something that he doesn't understand, which is why he ultimately goes with Canute in the end, because those set of eyes really remind him of that. It was so interesting to see that dialogue exchange after basically, Thorfinn wakes up, his arm's dangling, he's in a bad state. Of course, he's still gonna want to fight, but it was so weird but so perfect to have that, let's just have a breather. I'm gonna get a chair, I'm gonna get a drink, you want anything? I'm gonna tell you a little story as you kind of recover, because he respects the hell of this kid. This is his family. This is someone he wants to have a little chit chat with before killing him, right? Because he's someone who has this code of honor. It's kind of laughable where just you see all the murder, but they have their warrior codes. They want to respect that as he kind of gets patched up. It was so thrilling and just totally gripping to watch that play out, and how, he tells him basically all his vulnerabilities. He tells him how he was crying. He tells him everything that he knew about Thors, and then Thorfinn's like, I'm not gonna tell you shit. And then he gets so disappointed, like a temper tantrum, being like, well, I told you everything I knew, why can't you tell me? I think that was the perfect way to ease us into this episode, because you knew the action wasn't gonna stop. Unless Thorfinn or Thorkell died, I didn't see anyone stopping this unless the prince came in and swung around that big dick energy, right? So it was nice to see how there is this level of respect. I mean, he's lost how many fingers, and now he's lost an eye. And he still loves this kid, right? So it's understandable that he would take a breather himself, let the kid maybe get his arm placed in a somewhat decent position. I'm not going to kick a wounded dog, right? I'm going to at least let the dog get back up before I kick him again. So it totally was in character while also giving us that detail to Thors in how he escaped. Because in episode 1, we saw him dive into the water or kind of get thrown into the water, and then we assume he eventually got out, met up with his family, things like that. But it was nice to see the little bits of details we hadn't had filled in yet, and why someone like Thorkell has been so bound and bent to find what it is that Thors have that he's never had. And obviously his son doesn't know it either, because those eyes are very different than the eyes that he stared into so long ago, which is what makes that kind of end sequence so fulfilling, is that you get the same set of eyes and you have no idea, at least from Thorkell's perspective, what the hell have these characters seen? But you know what? As long as he's not going to play soft, I'll support the guy for a little bit here. It's just like, that's the type of stuff you love to see, and then you get so much action, which was actually really interesting. And like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I totally believed Askeladd knew how to defeat Thorkell. I mean, this is the guy who literally did so many sneaky and underhanded moves to overcome Thors, right? And yes, Thors did win, but he still had those underhanded measures ready so he could defeat him. I honestly expected he had some form of weakness that he did realize, and as we see, there's a certain section on his face that should he hit, it's gonna knock him down for at least a brief moment, so to speak. And it was so scummy, but it was so in character for Askeladd. I mean, Thorfinn was gonna die. He doesn't give a shit about honor past honorably dueling someone like Askeladd. Everyone else, he'll stab him in the back, he'll cut their legs, like, he doesn't care. The only thing that matters to him honor-wise is his father's memory, and right now, this character, even if they're family, is not about his father's memory. I mean, in his story, he says he tried to kill him, right? So it totally made sense of, like, blinding him with the sun and then getting that sneak attack in, and of course, you know, Thorkell's kind of a lunatic. His men's not going to be like, oh yeah, our leader's about to get killed or our leader fell, we're just going to let the kid go. No, absolutely not. And that whole confrontation between just Thorfinn looking like he's going to get killed, Thorkell losing his sanity. I mean, he's lost an eye. I doubt that eye's going to heal. And if it does, it's going to take a long time, and probably the vision isn't going to be 20/20 anymore. And just watching his, like, lunatic rage and just how he's wanting to kill his men, but then he's not wanting to kill him because his men sort of make sense, but he has his own code. It's like, what would Thors do? It's like this back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. It was just so weird. It was something that you can't even really compare outside of Vinland Saga, because you have such a weird relationship of, like, family, and then you got, like, your father figure that you don't love in any way, but you're keeping him alive so you can kill him honorably. It's like the weirdest family dilemma you can possibly imagine, as a kid with a broken arm is about to get killed by a bunch of men. Thorkell's sitting down, wanting to drink his booze, not sure what the hell to do. Askeladd's just kind of chilling, like, God damn, can we just, like, you know, simmer down a little bit here? We gotta get back to the prince. It's just this weird ball of, like, you didn't know where it was going, and they got the direction so well done. Cutting back and forth and just seeing so much brutality, just Askeladd needing to walk with his sword. You got Thorkell blinded and fingerless. You got our boy Thorfinn just, like, buried. Honestly, head in the snow is probably the best case scenario for him in this situation. I mean, he can't even use one of his arms, and he probably has a few broken ribs and maybe even a broken spine at this point. And then that conversation with Canute. This man, it's just like the idea that Ragnar got killed and then just the revelation with the priest has shifted this man into a stone cold badass. And Canute has been one of my favorite characters ever since he has been introduced. I've loved how different he is to every character that we've seen. In this world, if you're going to be around killers, either you are going to be a killer yourself or you're going to get killed. We've seen what happened to a pacifist like Thors, the best warrior in the world, and because he valued his son and the people around him, he gave up his life for them. A king with a gentle heart, just, I don't see how he could live in this world. It doesn't mean he couldn't do decent decisions, but there's no way that he's not going to get his hands dirty. And I was really excited to see where that progression would take. And to see him be able to stare down Thorkell, the giant, the mountain, the mammoth. It was so, like, I knew what they were going to do here. I knew he was going to threaten him in some way, but I didn't know, had he really shifted so much that he wouldn't flinch to that. And that build up to the punch to then just nothing. The men, everyone is like, holy shit, the balls of steel on this kid who they were joking like he's the princess, so they're going to make fun of him, they're going to kill him. They were doing all these comments and nothing was flinching him. And the biggest man in this area couldn't even get a flinch out of this guy. Like, it's so interesting how the dialogue in this series is more exciting than the action more often than not. Because you have so much things at play where you're like, oh yeah, you're my capture, I'm gonna get a reward. My apologies for bursting your bubble, but my father doesn't give a damn about me. However, I am gonna go to my father, and I'm gonna take back what's mine. It's like, well, someone like Thorkell, he loves a good scrap, right? And if this guy could become king, he'll have all the riches he needs, and he'll get to have that fight. It's just like everything coming together in such a weird dynamic. This is the weirdest family I've ever seen, where you got this, like, father-like figure who's not a father in any way, shape, or form, but, you know, it kind of looks like a frenemy dynamic with Thorfinn and Askeladd. You got uncle and nephew here going on. And then you got the new king in charge who's just swinging the balls of steel around, being like, everyone, come with me. It's like, what the hell did we just witness, and where can the story of Vinland Saga go from here? Only up, honestly. And just the idea that everyone's like the advisors, you know, they're kind of tagging along. You know, I killed most of your men, but water on the bridge, am I right? What are we looking at here? The idea that Hsieh was just so like shocked at what he saw, his prodigy. So when he was like, this is gonna be something, should I advise him correctly? He literally exposed his darkest secret. I killed the person you love the most, your true father. You can kill me, or you can let me tag along. That was probably the most shocking part of this episode. That Hsieh, the king of schemers, the person who always has something underhanded up his sleeve, just exposed all his vulnerabilities, and that probably will bite him in the ass at some point. But he believes in this kid so much that he's like, you know what? What else am I gonna do at this point? Here's all my cards. That's what makes Vinland Saga so great. The animation and the fight between Thorkell and Thorfinn was great. It was brutal, it was exhilarating, it was everything you'd want, but every piece of dialogue, every pause, every breath that these characters took to catch their wind, right? It was so goddamn great. And the past few episodes, ever since basically the betrayal started up on Ashley's side, this story has not slowed down. Every little set piece, every little action piece, every piece of dialogue has built up to a moment where everyone came together, and I expected as much. After last week, I was like, there's going to be some way that this prince is going to bring this section together and they're going to carry on their way. I just didn't know how it would go down, but to see someone stand up to the giant, and to see the brutality that led up before them, it totally makes sense why, you know what, this so-called kid, this so-called princess is going to lead his new group of men. This kid is literally doing everything right, and you can no longer even call him a kid. You can no longer insult him or berate him because now he seems like a king. Whether you agreed with what Hsieh did or not, Ragnar did not deserve to die, but you can see the fruits of his labor and why that man had to die for something like this to happen. Vinland Saga is insane with its storytelling. The characters across the board are so interesting, whether you see brother looking at brother being like, he's so brain dead now that he can't even remember who he is because of the frightened scare that he did get from Thorkell. Or you're watching these intense politics and just family dilemmas play out. Every little piece about it is so goddamn good. And I don't know where the final 5 episodes want to go, but I know it can only get crazier from here, especially because they're no longer like hunting and pursuing one another. They're kind of reluctantly tagging along, and I don't know, the frenemy dynamic just expanded from Thorfinn and Hsieh. It's like, that entire situation, man, there's gonna be some crazy shit by the time the season wraps up, I'm sure. I just love how morally complex Vinland Saga is. Like, every character does shady things or is a bad person with some sort of decent traits. Where can we go from here? Only up. And the fact that we've only continuously gone up since the start of this anime kind of speaks volumes to how good the writing is in this series. The production, definitely on point. I love the speed and power and just how they cut around to all the different characters. And the voice acting for Canute, man, this dude gives me chills. I'm just like, yeah, you know what, whatever you say, I'm your follower. I was already your follower since your introduction, just because I thought you're such an interesting character, but definitely you would not talk back to this guy anymore, especially if you've seen him not flinch to the troll giant, what the hell did you just do to me, and you didn't even flinch from that fist. Most people would. This episode was badass and exhilarating and all the right notes, but what did everyone think? From manga readers or anime originals? Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. And if you did enjoy this video, be sure to drop a like and also hit that subscribe button if you have been new. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.